So thank you for the introduction and for again for having me. It was a very interesting first session. So I was really thrilled to be. I'm actually thrilled to be a part of the panelists that we have today. So let's start with a bit of context, right? We're talking about COVID as if COVID was the only disruptive event that was reshaping the work-related skills that our learners need and the way they acquire them or use them. So we know that even before COVID, we started with the whole digital transformation. So we have the rise of digitalization, automation, cyber physical systems. We have the rise of the gig economy, the climate change crisis, the demographic changes, the whole investment in green and renewable technologies, the extended lifespans. Today, researchers says that or claim that our kids, like if kids are born today, they might live for 150 years. And you also have the great resignation generation. So within this context, we have the Industry 5.0, that is also rising. And based on the European Commission, this Industry 5.0 reinforces the role and the contribution of industry to society. It adopts a human-centered approach for digital technologies, including artificial intelligence, and leads the digital and green transitions. And when we talk about Industry 5.0, we need to talk also about the society that we're heading towards. And this society 5.0, aims to place human beings at the midpoint of innovation, exploiting the impact of technology and Industry 4.0 results with the technological integration to improve quality of life, social responsibility, and sustainability. So the World Economic Forum, when they talk about this Society 5.0, they talk about problem solving and value creation. We talk about diversity, decentralization, resilience, sustainability, and environmental harmony. And the society requires skills. And based on a very recent report by the Conference Board of Canada in collaboration with the Future Skills Centers, they came up with they published a report that says that our learners, we're in higher education and we need to prepare our learners for the society that is coming ahead. And our learners need to develop skills, very foundational skills, such as digital literacy. They need to develop social and emotional skills, what we usually call soft skills, transferable skills, 21st century skills. So they need to listen effectively, manage time, work across cultures. They need to be self-aware, analyze problems, be creative, resilient, and adaptable. And we saw within COVID and all the different transformations that we're going through, helping our students, our learners to become adaptable is one of our most really at the core of the responsibilities that we have towards our students. And they need to be ready for employment. Another very interesting findings or quote that I took from the report. It says skills do not exist in isolation. So being able to work and learn effectively online is about more than just accessing and using devices. And again, this is where our role comes. So our learners, when we talk about the transformation of higher education, and what and how we need to prepare our learners, we need to start by thinking, okay, so what are the skills that we need to help our learners develop, right? So our learners need to adopt a mindset of constant lifelong learning and life-wide learning, because as we saw, the transformation is ongoing, right? And they need to continue to be able to continue learning. They need to work ethically, critically, responsibly, and sustainably with machines and emerging technologies. So the whole collaboration, it has to be also guided by values and with ethics too. They need to identify and solve problems, negotiate, motivate, persuade, and coordinate. They need to take initiatives, think critically, collaborate and communicate, demonstrate curiosity, creativity, and adaptability, as we said before. Develop an open mind, sensitivity to issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion, and mostly to be empathetic. And they need within the whole package, they need to be able to protect themselves and their mental health while in digital contexts. The last thing that I want to share with you about the skills, another report that was launched by RBC, they were talking about the green collar jobs. So we're also heading towards a higher skilled net zero workforce. And again, this is our role in higher education to prepare for this workforce. So we talk about all the skills that our learners need to develop in what's coming, right? To be ready for what's coming. But you also need to look at what are the expectations of our learners, especially after they went through these 2 years of COVID and they were also exposed to what was happening, right? With the transformation, the digital transformation, and the whole thing around them. So our learners are expecting flexible learning. One of the questions that was in the first session, should we go towards blended learning? It's more than blended learning, like the whole different modalities that we need to provide to our students to answer to their needs are beyond one solution. So because of COVID, now we know that our learners can learn from anywhere, at any time, with anyone, with any different technologies, and we need to give them that because now this is what they're expecting. We did a study at Université Laval between September 2021 and February 2022. And the group was the working group on post-pandemic transition of teaching and learning practices. It was led by the director of the Teaching and Learning Center at Université Laval. And we had 19,898 students who answered the survey. So it's about 41% of our students. So we had many questions, but what I'm bringing to you today is one main question. It's about what is the modality that you expect to have during the fall 2022? And it's in French, so I'm gonna very quickly translate that. So the blue one is présentiel. Présentiel is in presence, right? Like physical classroom. And we had 24% of our students who are expecting a physical classroom. 10%, around 10% who are expecting a hybrid modality. Distance synchronous, around 10%. Distance asynchronous, we have around 27%. 26.9 comodal. Comodal is the high flex model that we adopt at Université Laval. So, and that was even before COVID. So what we have is we provide our students with 3 different modalities. They can be in our classrooms together with us, right? They can be online, synchronous, so they are on our screens, or they can follow the classroom asynchronously. And they can choose the modality every single week. So it's not as if when they choose one modality, they have to stick with it during the semester. So based on their needs, based on their schedules, based on their, many of the students, they have to be able to have this equilibrium between their life and their work and studying. So we bring this flexibility to our students, and they can be at any of the modalities at any time during the semester, and this is really based on their choice, and they're in control of the whole journey that they are following in our classroom. So, looking at the results, we see that our students, right, are expecting really a variety of modalities, and this is what they need, right? When they're answering this, it's really where they felt that they were learning the most and what they felt that it was answering to their needs. So the same result, we look at the different faculties within Université Laval. You see the black rectangles are, because I can't share the names of the faculty, but within Université Laval, and you have all the different faculties, we see that you also have this diversity of choices. So none of the two faculties have the same results. So in each of the faculties, students express their preferences differently, right? So again, this diversity, we need to make sure that we're answering not as a whole solution for the students in Université Laval as one group, but also looking at all the different groups based on the different faculties and based on the different fields that they are studying, right? So these are important data to help us decide where we're going in our modalities in the fall 2022. So this is one thing that I wanted to share with you. So when we look at our learners based on recent research, what they are expecting are responsive, adaptive, flexible, personalized, tailored, mobile, multimodal learning. So just having lectures, right? This is not what they're expecting anymore. They want self-service, on-demand, self-directed learning, micro-learning, experiential learning, project-based, challenge-based, where they need to collaborate, they need social learning. If we can bring in some games, why not? Simulation, continuous learning experience, and many of our students, as I said, they will be in the workplace or in the workforce and they want to come back. So they want learning also in the flow of work. And when we talk about this continuous learning that will be happening and the lifelong learning, we also look at what the UNESCO and OECD, their calls for action. So the UNESCO in 2020 urged the global community to recognize lifelong learning as a human right and a common good, and learning to learn and managing one's own learning journey as basic competencies for the future of our society. So one of our responsibilities is actually to help our learners, right? Our students in higher education, they need to learn how to learn and how to be in control of their learning journey. The OECD talked about designing inclusive, affordable, accessible, and adaptable policies that place learners at the center of learning. Motivate them to participate in lifelong and life-wide learning, help them develop a habit of learning, diversify learning opportunities, harness the power of technology. We have a lot of technology that is emerging that we need to look at it, but we have to explore it with a very critical approach. So being critical of its effect on existing and potential skills inequality. So when we talk about technologies, and I'm looking at my time just to make sure that I'm respecting my time. So we're now more and more exploring how can we use these emerging and disruptive technologies in creating the best learning experiences to answer the needs of our learners. So we're looking at augmented reality, virtual, mixed, extended realities. We're also using the brain-computer interfaces. With the Web 3.0, there's a lot of possibilities, artificial intelligence, blockchain. When we talk about blockchain, we're talking about digital credentials, right? This is another approach that we need to take very soon. And of course, the whole talk about the metaverse and how can we use metaverse and create learning experiences in metaverse. So just taking the example of AI in education, we know that with our artificial intelligence, we can actually help, or we can reach differentiated, personalized, and individualized learning. We can reach also adaptive learning and assessment. We can use the artificial intelligence to provide tutoring and support outside the classroom, the universal access for all students, and of course, the automated admin tasks. In a recent article that I published in the conversation, I wrote about AI-powered chatbots that if they were designed ethically, they can support high-quality university teaching. Because if you look at the whole chatbots, right, the technology of the chatbot, that it could help our students during their transition into our classrooms or into the higher education, and they can help them, answering their first level questions, supporting them to integrate in our classrooms and in the university and on campus. But also we can use chatbots to support faculty members who need access to resources, who need access to different approaches, etc. So again, a first level of support can be provided by chatbots. And by doing that, we can actually give time to teaching and learning centers to focus on more complex tasks and reflection that they can have with faculty members to think together about the transformation of education. So instead of having them, their time to provide first level support, chatbot can do that. And then our teams can focus on helping our faculty member transition to more innovative digital pedagogical approaches. Another examples that I wanted to share with you is the application of VR and avatars in education. So I have two examples, actually, the Virtual Human Interaction Lab at Stanford University. And here you have a few examples of the lab. So they are using the virtual reality in for different topics. So psychology of augmented reality, they looked at integrating VR in classrooms, empathy, right, through VR. And Jeremy Bailison's virtual people course was done totally with VR. So it's a course about VR that happened in VR. And what they did is actually they sent headsets to all the students, and they followed the whole class, the whole semester in virtual reality. Another example is the use of avatars. So at Université Laval, one of the examples is a collaboration between the Faculty of Education, one of my colleagues, with the School of Design, and they created this experience with avatars. So the whole class, again, was happening with interactions with avatars for a course about mental health intervention. So this is another example of things that could be using technology to create learning experiences for our students. So if we want to come back to my title and look at, so if we wanted to foster the sustainable transformation of higher education to meet the needs of a lifelong learning 5.0 post-COVID-19 world, what should we do, right? We need to think systemically. We need to break silos, and incite, strengthen, and sustain partnerships between all stakeholders to benefit today and tomorrow's learners. With COVID, we realized that we're not alone, right? And that the more we interacted with our partners, the more we interacted with other universities, the more we came up with solutions to help our learners during the crisis, but also to think together of how we can transform education. We need to enhance collaborations among businesses, governments, and post-secondary institutions. We need to ensure effective and efficient interactions between the different entities within our institution, but also with other institutions. So even within our institutions, we realize that teaching and learning centers now, they have a key role that before COVID, they were a bit ignored. And with COVID, many universities realized that they were at the center and they needed their help. So we need to empower these teaching and learning centers, because faculty members, when they arrive at university, they are experts in their field, but they are not experts in education. So we cannot expect, faculty members from different fields to know exactly how to innovate in teaching. So we need these teams from teaching and learning centers to support these experts who are brilliant, right, in their field, but they need support in creating learning experiences. So this is why we need to empower our teaching and learning centers. We need to rethink the existing infrastructure to make sure that no one is left behind, especially less advantaged, underrepresented, vulnerable groups. And we realize that we have many in our institutions. Make learning responsive to the evolving demand for skills and knowledge in the labor market and society. So we cannot just, continue with our curriculum without really making sure that we're answering the needs of our society. Recognize the skills developed through the wide spectrum of granular, incremental, and dynamic lifelong learning instances, and improve validation, accreditation procedures. And lastly, we need to promote interdisciplinary discussions, initiatives, and solutions. Again, our skills, like none of the problems can be solved by one domain. We realized with COVID, again, that we needed to put together all our heads or our domains to come up with solutions. So having these interdisciplinary discussions is key for transforming higher education. We need to promote flexible education rather than ad hoc accommodation, explore the power of technology in the interest of all learners, including socially and economically disadvantaged groups, and ensure the ethical, critical, responsible, and sustainable application of technology in education. Thank you.